Hey everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Paul White, composer, arranger, Grammy-nominated saxophonist, woodwind specialist, and staff arranger for the U.S. Army Field Band. Paul is here to show us how to quote creatively in your writing.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to talk about quoting in your compositions and arrangements. I like to quote. I think it's a really great way to point my listener in a very specific direction. I also think it's a great way to pay tribute to someone or something that you think is connected to your piece or your arrangement. I also think it's a great way to just kind of keep things light or lighten up a piece that may be getting a little bit too deep. So for those three reasons, I enjoy quoting. I like to quote in such a way that it's more of an Easter egg, like in the movies. So if you have to go back and listen again to actually realize what happened. And sometimes that can be a little tricky, but it's a great challenge and I enjoy doing it. The first piece I'm going to talk to you about is a piece I wrote for my daughter. Her name is Lily, and the piece is called Lily's Song. I wrote it for her when she was about three or 4 years old. And just like all 3 and 4-year-old children, she loved Elmo and she loved Sesame Street, and she was happy and just very energetic and excited young person. So I wanted to kind of capture that in my piece for her. And so the style of the piece that I wrote is kind of as a groove, very groovy. And in order to make a connection with that, I tried to quote the theme from Sesame Street. Okay, I have a couple of examples. I want to show you the original Sesame Street theme, and then I want to show you how I altered it to fit it into my arrangement. So this first example is playing of the original Sesame Street theme, not the entire theme, but the part of the theme that I decided to quote, which was the most memorable. Right, so everybody remembers that. We've all heard it. You know, it's been around for a very long time. And so in order to get that into my arrangement, I had to rhythmically change it a little bit so that it fit into the groove of my piece. And I just had to alter the melody slightly so that it would fit in the arrangement and it wouldn't jump out at you at any time. So this section we're going to hear from Lily's Song is right after the piano solo. It's interlude leading up to tenor saxophone solo. So this is the excerpt from Lily's Song with the quote happening in the middle. So you hear how I rhythmically changed it so that the important parts of the melody would fit right in with the groove, right? And just very, if it went by quickly, you might not even recognize that was Sesame Street, especially if you're not thinking that it was going to be there. But if you go back and listen to it again, you might, oh yeah, that was Sesame Street. And I like that, and I like that how when you go back and listen to it, it pushes you right into a very specific direction. You know, you think when you were a kid and you watch Sesame Street, and it's just happy, it's light, it's not too serious, but it still is swinging and it sounds good. So that's one of the reasons why I like to quote that stuff. The next example I'm going to talk to you about for quoting is from an arrangement I did of Princess Leia's theme from Star Wars. And as you can imagine, there's lots of opportunities to quote in a piece like this because John Williams was a master of writing motives for people and things and ideas that happen on screen. So there's a whole bunch of opportunities for quotes here. So this example of a quote is more about how I alter the original so that I can piece it together with other things and make it way less obvious. So we're going to talk about the ending here of my piece where I quoted 3 different themes from Star Wars. The first theme is a theme that John Williams wrote when Han Solo and Princess Leia are on the screen together, and it's called Han and Leia's theme. And I have an example just so you can hear what the original sounds like. Right, so that's the original Han and Leia's theme. And the second theme I used was the Imperial March, which I think everybody will probably recognize. This is this when you see the Empire coming through the screen, this is the theme that you get. Very familiar. And the last theme that I used in the ending here was the iconic Force theme. You probably recognize all those melodies, and you would recognize that melody if you heard it in a piece just like that, probably right out of the gate. So for that reason is why I like to alter them so that you don't immediately recognize them, because a part of the reason for quoting is to push your listener in a specific direction. But if it's that specific and that recognizable, it can take them in a different direction from what you're shooting for by using the quotes. So I have 3 examples of how I've altered them. If you could bring up the first one. Right. So this is how I adapted the Han and Leia's theme. If you can see, it's very similar to the original. This is the one that I didn't alter that much, just rhythmically. I changed it a little bit so that it would fit into the style of the piece that I had written. The next one I have is how I adapted the Imperial March. You can see I have elongated it. I've slowed it down because Leia's theme is a ballad, and I didn't want it would be too aggressive to throw in that huge march thing. So what I did is I stretched it out. As you can see, I took one of the lower neighbors out so that it was less obvious that you're hearing the Imperial March. But then I finished at the very end with the lower neighbor. So you can see how I drew it out to make it less recognizable. And then the next one is how I adapted the Force theme. Yep. See, I did the same thing. I drew it out a little bit, made it a little bit longer, and took away one of the upper neighbors so that it wasn't as obvious. And I put all 3 of these quotes in the same 8 measures, and and some of them are right on top of each other so that they kind of, blend in with each other, so they make them a little bit less obvious. I picked these tunes because it's Princess Leia's theme. It's all about her, and she's the daughter of, Darth Vader. I'm sorry, I don't mean to spoil this for anybody if you haven't seen Star Wars. And the sister of Luke Skywalker, she had the Force, right? So all these things get connected, and when you put it together this way, I think it really helps solidify the storyline, from the movies, and I think that was pretty cool. So we're going to listen to a score excerpt from the end of Leia's theme, and then one more note, just to not be outdone with my quoting. The soloist, who's a friend of mine who was playing on this, decided that he was going to one-up me, and so he quoted "Out of Nowhere," which I'm sure you're all familiar is the song that the theme from Star Trek was based on. So he started a whole big controversy by quoting Star Trek in my Star Wars arrangement. If you remember back in the day, you were either a Trek fan or a Star Wars fan. And so now it's very controversial. No, I'm just kidding. So this is an excerpt from the end of Leia's theme. So you can hear how they're happening all at the same time, and you hear bits and pieces of one, but then another one takes your attention away. But then you hear them all together, and you can really hear the how they work together, and how they fit into the arrangement. Another thing you can quote is ideas, and if you heard the last chord there, it's a major 7 with the sharp 5 and the natural 5, which is a sound that John Williams uses in his background pieces or instruments when they're playing accompaniment for soloists. It happened a lot in Princess Leia's theme, and so I put that in there too as an homage. That's a more difficult quote to recognize, but it's still a type of quoting. Quoting can be a very effective tool. I really enjoy using it in such a way that it's keeps things light, and I also enjoy using it in a way to keep it difficult to find, like the Easter egg, like I said. So yeah, good luck quoting out there.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.